make up a more interesting biography about the early years. But the biggest points were that I realized that I wanted to do something with music in my life.
Right.
People around me had said that eventually I would do something related to religion in my life, which I was like, you got to be kidding me. I don't think so. Thank you very much. And
what were you listening to when you grew up? Remember? What was influencing you?
Well, I've always been kind of an eclectic music listener. So I remember listening to James Brown and King Crimson, like simultaneously.
Really?
So
you were kind of like an all over the map kind of music guy?
Oh yeah, Magical Mystery Tour came out.
Right.
I would buy that. Then Sex Machine came out by James Brown. I'd buy that. And the Court of the Crimson King would come out. I'd listen to that.
Really?
I was really taken by the early British progressive rock too. Before there was Emerson, Lake and Palmer, I liked Keith Emerson with The Nice, for example.
Right. Yeah.
I found that in Arthur Brown.
The Crazy World of Arthur Brown.
Arthur Brown, Atomic Rooster.
Sure.
And of course Hendrix. When I grew up, I'm talking early grade school. Hendrix was hitting the scene. I loved that. I listened to Grand Funk Railroad. Pretty much anything that had an interesting drummer caught my attention.
Right.
And I'm very thankful for an uncle of mine who really wanted me to appreciate jazz. And I'll never forget, but he bought me a Max Roach album called The Drum Also Waltzes.
Oh, yeah?
Now, I don't know. I'm like, I can't remember exactly. I'm maybe 8 or 9 years old. And he's like, when you want to play drums, you got to listen to this guy.
Right.
And I was also listening to other drummers as I could catch them on TV, like Buddy Rich. I would sneak up late at night if I caught wind of it, like through the TV guide. There used to be this thing called TV guide.
Yeah, remember that? Yeah. When people actually needed it?
Yeah. Well, for now, it'd probably be like a phone book. There's so many
channels.
You
just hit the clicker and see what's on. Yeah.
But I would look ahead, and if I saw that he was going to be on, or Louis Bellson or somebody, I would dutifully go to bed.
Right.
And
pretend.
You pretend, exactly. And I would get up and watch Carson.
Really?
Because that's usually who had Buddy on a lot.
So you had the volume all the way down.
I had it all the way down.
So Mom wouldn't wake up and go, "What is he doing?"
I could watch I could watch the stickings and stuff, but I really couldn't hear it too well.
Yeah.
So I listened all over the map.
Really?
For everything. My mother, she listened to a lot of gospels, so I'd be listening to Mahalia Jackson.
Oh, she's the queen.
And those
she was
kind
the queen.
Of people. And turn right around and listen to whoever was most contemporary at the time. Pretty wide open, I would say.
Really? Did you ever listen to the Cowsills?
Yes, because they were on the radio like everybody else.
Yeah, I love the Cowsills. As a matter of fact, next Friday, if all goes well, Susan Cowsill will be joining us. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, I hope I'm not embarrassing myself, but didn't they do a different drum? Was that them?
That was Stone Pony.
Oh, Stone Pony.
Yeah, right. That was Linda Ronstadt.
But I know that I've listened to the Cowsills because...
Yeah, they did Hair. They did the Rain in the Park, the other things. Got to Get Away from It All. They did Great Sunny Day.
I remember that one, yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole... So we'll be talking about it more next week, so, you want to come back, you'd be welcome.
Oh, cool. Yeah. No, but whatever was on the radio, Paul Revere and the Raiders, I mean, you could bring them all up, and I listened to all of them.
So you went from pop to like psychedelic even.
Everything, yeah.
Blues, progressive jazz.
And as I got older, I had friends that were always turning me on to different types of music. When you mentioned psychedelic, when Pink Floyd first came on the scene, just a little bit older, I got really caught up in them. I loved them.
Really?
And again, it was all pretty much drummer based. Same thing for like Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were a Nicky Mason fan?
I like Nick Mason. It's amazing. Yeah, a lot of British drummers influenced me. I liked Ian Pace from Deep Purple.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
he was incredible.
Clive from Jethro Tull.
Right. Yeah.
Was pretty amazing. I think I just mentioned Bill, and of course Greg Palmer.
Right.
And Carl Palmer. I'm sorry, Greg Carl Palmer.
Right.
And just a lot of folk. I mean, you're making me get out some cobwebs here.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. We got to clean them out, Rodney.
But a lot of them had a very strong influence on me very early in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And
when did you get your first drum?
I take it you're a drummer then.
Well, no, actually, it's a sousaphone, but I couldn't get one from the shop, so I had no choice but to default. I got my first kit actually when I was 11.
Really?
Prior to that, I had gone over to other friends' houses who had drums. Like usually it would be some guy's older brother who was interested for like the summer,
right?
Because it made him more attractive to girls or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
But they would lose interest, and I would go over. And in fact, that's another memory. I remember distinctly going over to a friend's of mine's house. This was in grade school, and we would wear out the 45 of Wipeout.
Oh, really?
Because that was like, wow, that was it.
That was it.
If you could play Wipeout, you were great.
So did you learn it?
Yeah. Not necessarily in grade school, but later on, I went back to revisit it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
In fact, I can't find it, but rumor has it that there is a Terry Bozzio track somewhere of him doing Wipeout, and it's got
from Frank Zappa.
Yeah, and apparently it's all double bass and stuff. And
and you're a real big double bass fan.
Yeah, well, again, it's funny you mentioned Ginger Baker.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of people have such an influence on me as a person, and it's amazing to look back on how people kept introducing me to more music.
Mm-hmm. Schoolmates and stuff.
Schoolmates, and even like where I lived for a while was across the street from a county park.
Oh yeah.
And so I used to go there and swim during the summer and rowboat and stuff like that. I made friends with a couple of lifeguards. And when this guy found out that I was a drummer, he said, "I'm going to bring you an album to listen to." And he brought me Wheels of Fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the double. And I must listen to Toad like all summer.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, Ginger Baker just blew my mind. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So,
he's crashing and banging away, and
yeah, and
I mean, he was something.
And his
he was a machine.
Yeah, he was really something.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really I was floored.
Uh-huh.
It was a whole new school of thought.
Right.
See, that was the beautiful part. Looking at it, nothing ever stayed static, because just when you thought you'd heard the epitome of what it is,
right,
a new album would come out.
And change everything.
Yeah, you just completely reoriented to a whole nother way of thinking about stuff.
Yeah, the 60s were so formative, and the 70s were explosive as far as music goes, I think.
Yeah, it's really something. And I would say that's even true today.
I guess I don't listen to music today anymore.
Well, it's hard. I find it really hard to find the time, but some folks may laugh, but I listen to, when I can, I like to know what's going on with the heavy metal guys.
Oh, yeah?
Because the drummers that I'm hearing that are playing, whatever you want to call it, heavy metal, math metal,
right,
speed metal, whatever, their chops and what they can do on a set, I'm just floored.
Oh, yeah. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's over the top.
And they come from everywhere.
I shouldn't say that about it unless it's modern music. That's not entirely true.
Those drummers seem like they're on speed, basically.
Or something.
It seems that way, doesn't it?
Something, yeah, because they are so quick.
But they're extremely talented. I don't know if you can talk about bands, but one of my favorites is a band out of Sweden called Meshuggah.
Mm-hmm.
And their drummer is like, he's a mutant.
Yeah.
And they play very, if not polyrhythmic, very rhythmically dense music.
Right.
And he just plays it with such aplomb, like it's no big deal to him at all.
Wow.
He's just a real joy to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was looking somewhere and they said, our new album's coming out. And I'm like, I can't wait. This is, get my mind blown again.
Right.
So it's always evolving.
Okay.
It's always evolving.
Gotcha.
So I'm sorry if this is not a direct answer to your upbringing.
No. But I was curious, like when you got I got my first guitar when I was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm not going to get into me, but the guy that taught me the guitar, his claim to fame was he wrote the song "Short Shorts."
Everybody wears shorts.
Who wears short shorts?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Girls wear short shorts. You remember Tom? Yeah, he's shaking his head up that one with regret.
you know when you're kids and you get hand-me-down like clothes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all my guitars have all been hand-me-downs from my brother,
Oh yeah.
and I've got I swear I've got a 75-year-old guitar, an Echo, a 75-year-old Echo that was handed down to me from a brother 30 years ago.
Wow.
Now, what you don't know about Daniel, Rodney, is that Daniel can play any instrument that's put in front of him.
Really?
Yeah, he's like a freak.
Wow.
Yeah, some people might call him a savant. I just call him an idiot. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I was waiting.
No, you're right. No. I'll take that insult.
No, he can play anything.
Wow.
And beautifully. Yeah.
Wow.
He put something in front of him he's never played before. Give him 5 minutes, he'll figure it out, and he'll start playing. Whatever.
Wow, that's really something. I wish I had that ability, but once I gravitated towards percussion, I said, nah, I'm going to rest here for a while.
Right. So your first kit was when you were how old?
I was at 11.
You were 11?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was a kind of a short-lived romance with that kid.
Was it like a Silvertone from Sears or something? Or?
Well, it was a no-name brand, probably an inexpensive kit made abroad, I don't know where,
Right.
that we got at the local music store.
Okay.
It was this obnoxious blue, sparkly-looking thing.
I love that color.
And
obnoxious blue sparkly.
Yeah, and it was your typical starter junior kit.
Mm-hmm.
It was a crappy snare drum,
Right.
one rack tom, a bass drum, I think a floor,
Yeah.
and some cymbals that were probably made out of gum wrappers and bottle tops. I mean, they had no sound whatsoever.
And your mom made you put it in the basement?
Well, I was able to play for about all of 2 days.
Oh,
We
yeah.
lived in apartments.
Oh.
And the anonymous letters came almost immediately to the management,
Right.
basically asking to have me cease and desist, lest we live outdoors.
Oh, jeez.
So what I had to do.
There's anti-musicians.
Well, like I said, it's if you ever get to a point where you make it,
Mm-hmm.
people love you and they remember. I remember how that boy used to practice, but
Yeah.
during the time, I was just a source of constant annoyance for folk.
Right.
So what I did was a fair amount of practice pad, and I would go to the youth center
Mm-hmm.
and play drums there if they had something that you could beat on,
Mm-hmm.
or friends who had drums. And
What about in school? Did you join the band or anything, in marching band or any of that kind of stuff, or no?
no, I had a brief experience with our church tried to have a marching band,
Oh yeah.
but we had very few youth, so it was somewhat short-lived.
Mm-hmm. Were there too many doctrinal differences? Is that the problem? Were they,
Yeah, the theology of the
squabbling?
snare just
Yeah.
didn't quite agree with one another.
with the trumpets? Yeah. Okay.
No, it's just that we had a very small number of youth in our church, so we didn't have enough to sustain a band.
Oh yeah.
We tried, but it didn't work out. But what was good is that the teacher there recognized that I had an interest above and beyond,
Mm-hmm.
and he would do things like lend me some books on rudiments.
Oh yeah.
There was a guy at that time who was one of those rudiment competition masters. It was a guy named Frank Olsenaut.
Okay.
And he would play me a recording
Right.
of this guy Frank competing,
Mm-hmm.
playing rudimental pieces, and that gave me a whole other side of there's actually technique and rigor and stuff involved in this. You're not just
okay.
sitting down and
It wasn't.
playing.
Yeah. It wasn't just sitting around hitting on the hat and the snare.
Yeah,
4/4.
Because I was just self-taught. I mean, I'm the more we're talking, the more I'm remembering. I remember when I did get that kit, the first thing I tried to learn was the beat to dance to the music.
Sly and the Family Stone.
And
Classic.
I remember just scratching up the record, playing that over and over again,
Right.
trying to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
And just when I was on the verge is when we got one of those letters. So
Oh really?
yeah.
Well, how long was it till you could actually start, practicing with some freedom?
We moved from the apartment
Right.
into a house when I was in between 9th and 10th grade.
Oh yeah.
And I met some amazing musicians. I don't know if you ever heard of a bass player named Randy Coven.
Oh sure.
Well, Randy went to the same high school that I did.
Okay.
And I met him. He'll hate me for telling this story.
No, go ahead.
But I met him because he was a perennial wise guy. And one of the things that he used to do at friendlies, which would piss off people, he would put all the money for the bill underneath a glass of water.
Oh,
so like
jeez.
the only way you could get the money,
Water.
yeah,